Chapter 25, The Old Priestess Ability. Along the way, Yan Mo found that the tribesmen had looked at them with seriousness and sad eyes, and Yan Mo felt strange. Yan Mo thought it was definitely because he and Yuan Zhan's posture is too strange. At first, some children with bare buttocks happily followed them. Later, many Durens followed them to the place behind the square. Is this like a parade to send them off? Yan Mo didn't know how Yuan Zhan agreed on the time. When they arrived at the square, they met Dalai, Missing Teeth and De Bing, who arrived at the end, and De Diao and De Shan then arrived. When more people gathered in the square, the more tribal warriors arrived. There are already close to 200 people, and there is still more coming. Everyone stared at Yuan Zhan, and the Missing Teeth and De Bing looked at their first-come companions and their eyes popped awkwardly. He went to the top one and talked with them and did not say anything like sensible words on the road, but asked directly, "Are you also demolishing your tent? Why? Are you wearing a large roll of fur?" Missing Teeth and De Bing did not understand Yuan Zhan and others and their massive rolled skins. De Bing's eyes were full of ridicule. The image of Yuan Zhan and others at this time is indeed a bit funny in the eyes of everyone. They held wooden spears on their right, a large roll of fur on their left shoulders, and fur on their left hand. The thickness and length of the roll made the look as if they were wrapped inside the skins. Durens generally looked at them and laughed. De Bing was pouting. No warrior will bring so many things when going out. It is not only tiring but also reduces the gains that can be brought back. What the real warrior lacks from luggage will be taken from the wilderness, and only the timid and useless melon heads will leave their tents with this much stuff accompanying them. Although Yuan Zhan was in a leading position among several people, Dalai is still the oldest and third-tier warrior. He replied, "These furs are what I told them to bring with them. No one knows where the new salt is. We may not be able to come back before the winter snowfall, let alone the snow has begun to show in the distance. The newly peeled animal fur on the road cannot be counted of. It is not as good as the old leather skin." People showed that they understand by nodding. The winter winds around here blow very fast, and it is often possible to run outside bare chest like yesterday, but if the cold wind came out the next day, and the outside would be cold and untenable, and when the snow fell, no tribe people will risk finding food on the snowfield unless they can't live without it. The cold that freezes people into the bones is useless even if one wrapped in a lot of fur. The most terrible thing is that if you can't get back to the tribe in the evening, many people's souls will be silently taken as slaves by the snow god at night, and only their frozen body will be left in the morning. There are no warriors in any tribe who traveled in winter, and Yuan Zhan and others were the first ones ever. They know that this is the result of the compromise by the chief to the old priest. They know that no matter whether it is winter or spring, there will be this proposition. It is only the urgency and persecution of the old priest which made Yuan Zhan feel uncomfortable in his heart. He understood what the old priest was worried about and only felt that his fears were very ridiculous. Hey Yuan clan, Xi Rang clan, the Faisha clan and the three clans are already one. Apart from each other, it is impossible for any tribe to survive alone. Only when they are together, can they resist the attacks from nearby tribes and get more rewards in the other 3 seasons. Dalai, bring them back alive. The chief used his right fist again to hit to his chest. The answer from Dalai is the same right fist and chest thump. Just then, the slaves in the crowd bowed. The chief and the old priest came. Yuan Zhan's hand was pinching Yan Mo's buttocks, carrying him like a child. Yuan Zhan put the boy on the ground and put the luggage down. Yan Mo gave him the wooden spear. Yuan Zhan clenched the wooden spear and stood straight. Others also put down their luggage and held a row of wooden spears with Yuan Zhan. Dalai and De Bing are ranked as the third-tier warriors there at the far left of the team, and Dalai was in the first place. The order number is the arrangement: Yuan Lai, Yuan Bing, Yuan Zhan, Yuan Shan, Yuan Diao, Yuan Meng, and Missing Teeth. This arrangement also implies the strength level of the 7 people. The people separated, and the chief and priest were coming. The slaves all bowed, and the soldiers clenched their fists to the left chest. Yan Mo hid behind slaves such as Cao Ting and Wan Sheng, trying to reduce any attention to him. Other slaves are bowing, only he was sitting on the ground. In fact, Yan Mo peeked at his injured leg in the morning. After 2 days and 3 nights, he and Yuan Zhan cut off that part. The injury had healed, leaving only a deep red mark. He would not feel pain when he pressed it. It's no problem to try 2 steps. But he still tied his injured leg with planks and pretended that it was still injured. You are the warriors of the tribe. The strong chief slammed his fist to his chest and shouted loudly. Yuan Zhan and others banged the wooden spear to the ground, while shouting loud, "Hey! The tribe is waiting for you to return. Hey!" The wooden spear smashed on the ground. "The priest will bless you." The chief finished, and the old priest moved. Yan Mo thought, that is this it? No more encouragement? No promise? Don't you give any benefits to their loved ones? Is this chief someone who is not born to talk, or is the tribal chief here talking less is a virtue? At this time, the sound of the banging wooden spears was dense, and the soldiers in the square shouted. In the low-pitched shout voice from the soldiers, the old priest walked to Yuan Zhan and others. The old priest's hair was all spread out, covering most of his face. His face was painted with strange lines, with dark and complex tattoos, which looked quite strange and terrifying. The necklace hanging on the old priest's neck is also the most complicated. One that looked heavyweight hanged on the chest, and the necklace consists of animal teeth, human teeth, bones, stones, fruits, feathers and other things. Maybe these ornaments have their own meaning, but Yan Mo can't understand. The meaning of the jewelry worn by each priest is not the same. He is not a true priest disciple. This kind of thing on the necklace, it's probably only the priest and his disciples understand its meaning. The old priest was not holding a spear, but a wooden stick like a scepter. The head of the stick was shaped like a skull. It looked like a human face at the top, but there is a hole in the upper part of the 2 eyelids and in the middle of the eyebrow. It looked like a skull that had 3 eyes. The priest disciple named Chuning held a stone pot, something was burning in the pot, and a blue smoke came out. The old priest first took a scepter around Yuan Zhan and other 7 people and walked around, using the scepter to point to the 7 people, and his mouth whispered something. The slaves do not deserve to be blessed by him, and naturally he will not be included in it. After he finished, he came to Chuning and bowed his head and took a deep breath of blue smoke. Immediately, the body of the old priest shook, and his head shook with a strange frequency. Yan Mo smelled the smog and guessed that there should be a hallucinogenic herb inside. Unfortunately, some of the hallucinogenic herbs can be used for therapeutic purposes. In the world he came to, there are still some primitive tribes, and some magical herbs are used as an anesthetic or as an analgesic. Suddenly, the old priest's body became stiff after a violent shaking. He jerked his head up and stared straight into the distance. Yan Mo sneaked a look, only to find that the old priest's forehead was painted with a pattern on his eyes. The pattern is quite realistic, and the expression on the old priest at this time is as if he is not looking at his own eyes, but looking at the 3rd eye of his forehead. The old priest suddenly growled and made a buzzing sound like a beast. Along with the priests, the surrounding soldiers suddenly made a growl, and even Yuan Zhan and others followed. Is this the use of growling to drive away the evil things, the future and the dangers that may be encountered? Yan Mo guessed. After all, whether it is human or beast, as long as they have a hearing, they are afraid of huge sounds. This kind of blessing is probably inspired by this kind of enlightenment. The old priest swung his scepter hard and gasped. After a while, the old priest said in a strange but very clear tone, "North, 5 days away, heavy snow has arrived. South, Hasa mountain, at the foot of the mountain, low mountain, the ants are hunting. In the east, clay dragons are fighting with the eagles. The west, far away. Fire! Fire!" God yelled in anger, "All beings, smoke, fire, the forest is burning, ah!" The old priest screamed, grabbing his forehead and falling to the ground in pain. The priest-disciple Chuning immediately rushed forward, and many soldiers were worried about the old priest. The chief immediately ordered the slaves to carry the old priest back to his tent to rest. Yan Mo's open mouth was hard to close. He first thought that the old priest was pretending to be a ghost, but when he heard it, he felt wrong. If you just pretend to be a ghost, you will never say everything in detail, and he has said it in the 4 directions of the southeast and northwest. What does this mean? Fuck. The old guy wouldn't really be able to see that far away? No wonder the old guy is feared. His healing technique is general at best and the chief and the tribe still hold him as a baobei. So, he really has such a magical power. Yan Mo is a medical doctor. When he was young, he liked to run around in the north and south. He did see a lot of strange things and cases, but he never believed in ghosts and gods. Even if his soul was penetrated to other world, he also had a Reformation guide. He still doesn't believe it. He felt that everything can be explained by science, including the wonders that happen in front of him. If the old priest didn't lie, Yan Mo speculated that the other person's magical ability to see the distance is likely to come from the pineal gland under his eyebrows. The human pineal gland itself is full of mystery. Even studies have shown that the pineal gland on human beings has been degenerated. So what was the role of the pineal gland before degeneration? Did the third eye on some ancient animal fossils excavated in the original world really exist? Yan Mo felt itchy, itching all over the body. Such a lively and ready-made living example is placed in front of him, but he can't rush to carry out detailed anatomy and analysis. It is too painful. Yan Mo doesn't know when the old priest will die. If he can get the news like this time, then he will definitely try to get back and cut open the old priest's body. If he can find out the secrets of the pineal gland. Yan Mo slaps his head, don't think about it, there is no World Contribution Medicine Award for you. However, he still wants to know, this has nothing to do with not winning the prize. If a living specimen is placed in front of him but can't be touched, it is as painful as the person who wants to smoke and looked at the cigarette in the window. Yan Mo drooling eyes followed the old priest and the entire ceremony was over. The 7 soldiers took their spears or picked up their own bags. The slaves also stood up and picked up the parcels on the ground. Yuan Zhan came over and picked up the little slave with one hand. Yan Mo honestly reached out and took the wooden spear. His baggage was also added to Yuan Zhan's luggage, so Yuan Zhan's large circle of fur was twice as thick as others. The chief who planned to watch the soldiers leave, saw Yuan Zhan walking with the broken-legged slave, and could not help but frown slightly. He was also surprised. Like everyone who is present was surprised. It is normal for the soldiers to walk with the slaves. Slaves can not only help to hunt together on the road, guarding prey, stay vigilant in nights, warm the nests, etc., when necessary, they can also be slaughtered as food. But with a slave who can't walk? Is he going to eat him on the road? Yuan Zhan carried on no matter how others looked at him, not to mention that the small slave was very useful, even if he was useless, it is his goddamn slave, even if the slave was kidnapped on the road, will not stay for others. The figure of 7 people gradually passed away under the watch of the chief and many tribesmen. You tell me, will they find a new salt field? The chief suddenly asked the elder beside him. Looking at the group in the distance, the man honestly replied, it's very difficult. The chief nodded and turned. Tell all the people to fall inside, the winter will come from the north, let everyone quickly pack in. Yes.